What's up, Karizzma crew? This is your captain speaking. Over the years in Halo games, we've got to explore multiple Halo rings and worlds across the galaxy, but it always excited me to play missions based on Earth just to see how our world would look like in the 2500s. So it got me thinking, what is the best Halo mission that takes place on Earth? There's some really good missions here, and it's gonna be really hard to rank them all. And obviously, this is my opinion, but I would love to hear which is your favorite in the comments. Also, to simplify things, I'm not counting Mombasa streets as a mission. Number 15, Kikowani Station. It's not that I hate this mission or anything like that, but I just don't think it's as memorable as the others on this list, to be honest. On paper, it sounds great, getting into a Banshee and protecting your squad in a Phantom they just took over, but in gameplay, it honestly feels a bit bland. Credit where credit is due though. The game does try to mix things up by breaking up the open flying sections with little on foot ones. But yeah, aside from fighting the Scarab, it isn't too memorable for me. Even as far as flying levels go, I think New Alexandria and Halo Reach did it a lot better in every way. Number 14. Tayari Plaza, the first time we're in control of the fan favorite character Buck. We survive a rough landing and make our way through hordes of Covenant to try and reach our squad mate Dare. This level is relatively straightforward, but it's our first glance at the immediate after effects of the in-atmosphere slip space jump by the Covenant. It's really cool seeing the snow-like glowing particles floating along with the blue mist and the overall atmosphere of the mission. I also really like how we connect with other stranded Marines along the way and also witness the dead elites everywhere, nodding towards the brutes taking over their place in the Covenant in the second half of Halo 2. The constant radioing between Buck and Dare also really builds suspense and intensity as you finally arrive at Dare's location only for her to not be found. Number 13. Kazingo Boulevard. Who doesn't love starting a mission out with a bang? As you'll see with another mission on this list, Kazingo Boulevard quickly begins with a chaotic battle in a Scorpion tank. You blast your way through the city until you link up with Dutch and eventually end the mission in a fun firefight holdout section. I love how we push through these narrow streets in a beefy tank and blast Covenant as they're lingering around corners and also being dropped off by Phantoms. You get to fight a variety of enemies on foot as well as in Wraiths and even Banshees. The ending holdout section is also enjoyable with a variety of weapons scattered around the battlefield like the rocket launcher or the sniper rifle to mix up the gameplay. It's honestly a short but exciting mission, and one that I don't mind coming back and replaying when I open up MCC. Speaking of short levels, at number 12 we have Uplift Reserve. Dropping into the Uplift Nature Reserve in New Mombasa, we power through the park with multiple groups of Covenant stationed all over the path. It's an intense, non-stop, fast-paced, high-action kind of mission that's highly enjoyable to play. You have options on which vehicle you want to use, which makes it replayable too. The sequence on the bridge where you see the orbital elevator collapse is also brilliant environmental storytelling. I especially love how the ending cutscene would be slightly altered depending on which vehicle you drove while making the jump. Number 11. Data Hive. Although it's a mission I enjoy in ODST, there's nothing really Earth-like in this level. Yes, we're in an immense data facility under New Mombasa, but truth be told, it could have taken place on another planet, and it wouldn't have felt very different in terms of its atmosphere or gameplay. That being said though, it's very cool seeing a mission so focused on the buggers, an enemy that was only sparingly used in other Halo games. The layout of the majority of the map is pretty repetitive, and while I understand what it's trying to accomplish from a narrative perspective, it can still grow tedious pretty quickly. The inclusion of the rogue and MPD officer is also fantastic, with him being killed by either the drones or the player, depending on the number of audio logs found. It's the first time we're supposed to kill a human, unless of course you count the crazy marine in CE, but technically even he is optional. Once you link up with Dare, things start to pick up a little bit, and making your way through the drone hive is a really enjoyable part of the mission. The mission ultimately ends with discovering the true intention of Virgil and linking up with Buck. Overall, a fun mission, but again, it barely counts as an Earth mission. Number 10. Crow's Nest. I find when talking to other Halo fans, not a lot of people are fond of Crow's Nests, be it the structure of the mission, making you go back and forth, or in general the enemy encounters in the mission. I personally never felt that way about Crow's Nest and actually found it to be pretty enjoyable. When looking at it through the lens of an Earth mission, it does suffer a little bit of the same issues as Data Hive, in a sense that technically it could have taken place on another planet, but something about a bunker being constructed in the 20th century just feels all too familiar not to love. Seeing technology and structures from our time is a cool concept to see in a Halo game. The way the buggers use the tunnels and air vents to get around is very clever use of the environment. Oh yeah, who can forget the infamously bad one-liner delivered by Miranda Keys in the opening cutscene to this level?
Ma'am, squad leaders are requesting a rally point. Where should they go?
To war.
Alright, with all due respect, we've already been at war for over 27 years as far as I know and been getting our bums torn apart in virtually every single battle because we're going against a genocidal empire with better tech, numbers, and resources than us. We have people we need to evac. And if we fail, the entire human race is screwed. For that, we need an actual rally point instead of a metaphorical, edgy, badass one. Yes, I know it's important for you to look like Kaptain Karizzma, but pretty please with all the sprinkles on top, squad leaders are requesting a rally point. Where should they go?
To war.
Oh, for f***'s sake.
Number 9. Oni Alpha Site. This mission has a simple but interesting narrative, retreating against waves of Covenant and going deeper and deeper into an Oni facility. You start off right in the middle of it all, having to place charges around a bridge and remotely detonating it, giving you and your squad enough time to retreat while taking on more waves of enemies. Eventually you make your way to the roof of the Oni facility where you take out the final group of enemies before you get picked up on a pelican and remotely destroy the entire Oni facility. Pretty straightforward, right? But think about it, having to blow up a human bridge is one thing, but destroying an entire building in order to cripple only a fraction of the enemy just goes to show the sacrifices humanity had to make once the Covenant discovered and began attacking Earth. It really touches upon this theme we really only get to see on another level in this list. Number 8. Coastal Highway. The final mission in ODST ranked pretty high in my best ending mission video, and it no doubt is a great Earth mission too. Although the beginning sequence of escorting Dare and Virgil drags on a bit too long, there's no denying that it features some really great environmental storytelling. The skybox is stunning and really gives that sense of scale. It puts into perspective how small we really are in the grand scheme of things. Seeing a giant scarab run through the city is terrifying to think of, something you don't really consider as much when you encounter them as Master Chief in Halo 3. And honestly, that is the least of our worries as more and more Covenant carriers begin showing up. The ending holdout section is also one of my favorite sections in the game. The dynamic of having extra shields when being near Virgil is a pretty cool feature. Number 7. From Coastal Highway all the way to Savo Highway. You see what I did there? No? Okay. Savo Highway is one of the best displays of Earth level in the game, and ranking the mission starts to get more difficult for me from here on out. Waking up next to a bunch of wounded soldiers after the mission Crow's Nest, and venturing out of the bunker in a warthog filled with Marines, and witnessing the debris is still such a cool scenery. Traveling across a broken highway as massive Covenant carriers zoom past you, all the way up to taking down the pack of brutes at the end. It's a fully action-packed mission that really utilizes the atmosphere and vistas of Africa as we make our journey to the town of Voi. That leads us to number 6, The Storm. The mission directly follows after Savo Highway and starts off with some hopeful badass music. I mean, just listen to this. You march through the tunnels with your Marines in a hog, and through some locked doors for some fun engagements with the Covenant. The level is crafted with that vintage Bungie design of going from enclosed spaces to open areas, and then back to enclosed spaces. We get our first encounter with the Scarab in Halo 3 in this level, and I always loved how we were introduced to it after taking down the anti-air raids on our Mongoose, or Mongooses. I think both are acceptable. Also, going through the indoor section and fighting alongside the construction workers was really cool. Nothing gives more Earth vibes than fighting alongside non-soldiers.
What is it? More brutes? Worse.
Fun fact by the way, this is the only word Chief says directly to the Arbiter in all of Halo 3. And number 5, we have Floodgate. Again, chronologically speaking, the mission right after the storm. Seeing the entire atmosphere change from the previous mission to this dark, green, foggy environment, Floodgate really puts into perspective the eerie thought of a human city being infected by the flood. How quickly the parasite was able to take over an entire city. And just like the previously mentioned mission Oni Alpha Site, the sacrifices humanity had to make by allowing the shipmaster to glass half the continent. Floodgate keeps things relatively short as you backtrack through the previous mission, and it becomes clear how quickly the flood can change the landscape. Number 4. NMPD HQ. Probably my favorite mission in ODST. This mission is beautifully crafted and gives new players the opportunity to learn how to effectively use the sniper by giving plenty of ammo and slowly increasing the number of enemies in each area. You go along rooftops of buildings to reach your squad mate's crashed Pelican. In the final stretch of the mission, you cross a delicate bridge as banshees fly overhead, shaking and wobbling the platform, and it's honestly one of the coolest parts of the mission and a really awesome example of environmental storytelling. You end the mission in a holdout section with plenty of different guns to choose from, and a really memorable cutscene of a Broof chieftain severely wounding Romeo. Number 3. Sierra 117. They must love the smell of green. Sierra 117 wasn't ranked super high in my best opening missions ranking because I didn't really think it held up as well as the other opening missions. But looking at it through the lens of Earth missions, it's hard not to put it so high on the list. Weren't we all just dumbfounded with how good the forest looked when getting our hands on Halo 3 for the first time? Fighting Covenant enemies in the jungles of Africa was something so new and different at the time. Hearing the howling wolves in the distance and hearing water splashing as the troops make their way across the jungle is still so memorable to me. I always enjoyed the final stretch of the mission where we need to rescue Johnson, who's been held captive in the hydroelectric facility. Again, it's so cool to see this human created structure in the middle of this natural jungle. Definitely a great Earth mission. Number 2. Metropolis. Who knew driving a tank across a bridge and obliterating everything in your path could be so much fun? Even though it's a very linear and scripted level, it's so cool to see the city of New Mombasa and continuing our pursuit of the giant scarab across this massive bridge with loads of Covenant patrolling and trying to stop us. The skybox in both the classic and anniversary editions are absolutely stunning. After destroying everything in our path, we head to the tunnels for some on-foot combat to keep the level fresh before jumping into a Gauss hog. Oh, and what a joy that was. You proceed to destroy some wraiths and make your way indoors, where you witness a tank get dominated by a scarab, which again is some great storytelling. You felt indestructible in the tank in the beginning of the level, so to see that same vehicle get annihilated gives you an idea of how powerful the scarab really is. All of it leads to the eventual boarding of the scarab, and while it isn't nearly as fun as the future scarab encounters we would have in Halo 3, it was still something incredibly new at the time.
We got jackals in the courtyard!
Outskirts is easily my most replayed mission in the entire Halo franchise, and why it's going to be ranked number 1 as the best Earth level. Whether you play through it normally or jump out of the map and go exploring on the rooftops, it's always a good time. Yeah, Sniper Alley is a pain on Legendary, but I can't weigh down the entire mission because of it. That's just Halo 2 on Legendary as a whole. I adore every section of this mission, from the beginning to the end. Even going through Hotel Zanzibar with those flickering lights always felt so immersive to me as a kid, and boosting through the tunnels in a ghost at the end of the level always got my adrenaline pumping. And that is my ranking of all the Earth missions in Halo. How would you guys rank them differently? Let me know in the comments down below. I've also made videos ranking the best opening and ending missions in Halo, so be sure to check those out if you haven't already. Also, sorry if I sound a bit different in this video. I'm dealing with a cold. If you enjoyed the video, Superman punch that like button and subscribe for more Halo content. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Subscribe to Kaptain Karizzma.